Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, September 22nd. So nice bounce day for the indices today, led by Nasdaq was up 1.9% for the day. I'm rounding up; it says 1.86. Let me zoom in for you. Every once in a while I heard that I hear from people who are viewing the video that you can't read the numbers, but here you go. The Qs finished up close to 1.9% for the day. SPY finished up 1%. So this was a nice bounce back from yesterday's price action and definitely continuation from the Qs and for more growth names. The small caps were all over the place today. They finished green for the day, but wow, from looking at how things were materializing in the morning, we started to see small caps really, were weak on the day, and a few of the other areas, banks included. I'll look at a couple of these charts, but pretty nice comeback in the afternoon. Part of it was, it's kind of a complicated day when Mr. Powell, even though he wasn't speaking to the public, he and Mnuchin were doing the congressional testimony. So the market is going to listen to that. So it was a little bit edgy around that time. And then things kind of straightened out for the day, and buyers asserted themselves. What was interesting, I thought, was the home builders were up, right? I know a lot of people were looking at, things like Pinterest and Snap and a few of the other growth names. A bunch of them. We'll go over some of those charts, but the home builders was your best performing sector for the day. There was positive. There was another nice existing home sales number that came out that was positive, and then KBH reported some good numbers after the close today. But really that was your best sector on the day. Again, nice to see. This was on the bottom of the list last week. In terms of performance. Today and yesterday had a nice bounce back in the FANG names. Software names continue to move nicely from yesterday too. They were up another 2% again after a strong rebound yesterday. They were the best performing group yesterday. And then you could see, a lot of the value type names, value type groups, which had such a kind of nice week or so group outside of the banks, kind of have lapsed a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on those names. They may show some buy signals, now that we've seen a little bit of a pullback, I think, in the transports and in the materials groups that were hot. A couple weeks ago, definitely have cooled off a little bit in the growth areas. If you want to look at this in terms of the chart as well, between growth and value, this is large cap. Value in the numerator, growth in the denominator. So this is a ratio chart. Just looking at the last 5 days, and you could see this big outperformance of value. And then this kind of changed midday on quadruple witching on Friday, and then you could see the last couple of days growth has really outperformed value. And if you want to look at the relationship over the last year, you could see that. So again, it was one of the things that I wasn't really too sure that we were seeing, a major change in trend in terms of value names outperforming, or just an adjustment and just something similar to what we've seen, especially in September's, right? I've talked about that before. I think 4 out of the last 5 years, value has outperformed growth in September, right? So it looks like that trend is continuing, and it kind of looks like another one of these, right? We saw this in the beginning of June as well. And growth has been outperforming the last couple of days. So we'll keep an eye on this ratio. Again, 5-year chart, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. September. This was where value outperformed as well. Take a look here. Big outperformance too at the end of the year 2016. And then a little bit of outperformance there in 2019 too. Right. So just so you see, I'm not making this up, but value seems to have this outperformance in the fall. Right, in the fall going into the winter. All right, so let's look at some trades, and we'll look at the indices first, right? Well, we start with the big indices first. S&P, for me, right? I know that not a lot of people look at value areas. A lot more people look at moving averages. We're still below the 50-day moving average here in S&P futures, so we still need to basically reclaim some territory here. But for now, the support is holding, and we held it perfectly yesterday, right? 3267 is the level for me to watch. I'm not crazy about this pattern here because we didn't really hold. We are talking about this before and how I've been talking about this market dip was similar to June, but it now looks different to me, right? This held, right, and this actually made a little bit of a higher low here, and then we rallied. This is now different looking, so we don't know what we're going to get as the rest of the month kind of shapes up. And I think being a little bit more defensive here, I think is the right thing. One of the things that there was a question that I try to answer. I try to answer multiple questions when we do the member macro video over the weekend. And one of the things that I was trying to answer was, hey, is this basically a garden variety dip? Or is there something else going on here? And I don't think I went through a whole bunch of different points, and the conclusion that I came up with was we may just need a little bit more time, trade a little bit more nimble, until we have a little bit of a clearer picture. Qs, you could see, are closer to rebounding, even though they were weaker, right? So they're almost retaking the 50-day moving average, but not quite. So, this I thought was kind of make or break. I mentioned a make or break area last week, and we broke to the downside. Now I think it's, we're going to be retesting. So again, good to see this back inside value. We could also go sideways here for a little bit longer too, but I would like to see if we can get over that 50-day moving average, right? So I think that's the main thing to kind of watch. If we drill into the 1 hour value area, we talked about how we got into value at the end of the day yesterday. We held it and we rallied. We stalled a little bit at this trend line. Notice, one of the things I've also been talking about the last couple of weeks too is whether or not we can get out of this short-term trend of making lower highs. So you can go back and you can kind of look at this, but every time we come back and we kind of test turning the corner, we fail. So we're kind of testing again this last little bit. Really what I would like to see, obviously, is for us to get out of value. That would be really nice for the week, or at least get all the way through to the top of value. The 80% rule is in effect for the week, so we have an 80% chance to get through the top of value. But yeah, that would be nice if we kind of turn the corner a little bit. And let's look at the S&P as well, S&P futures on the 1 hour chart. And we have not done that yet either. So this is an area that we've previously stalled. So again, today was a great trading day, no doubt about it. And I don't want to I hate being negative in these videos because this was an awesome day to trade. But I think you just kind of be mindful of what the charts are telling you and what the technicals are telling you. And also, if you look at market breadth, this was something that I didn't like coming into today. If we look at the advanced decline line, all right, so the advanced decline line, and we'll get a new one tonight because this won't update. But this is not what I wanted to see, like a break below the 200-day moving average. So we'll see how this changes. Like market breadth was not very strong today, as strong as some of the growth names were. If you look at the this market breadth screener that I've got up here, but you could see these new 4-week lows. Look at as strong as so Nasdaq again was up close to 1.9% for the day, and you had 19 4-week new lows and only 3 new highs. It could, being that we've kind of been in this trend of, short-term downtrend, it may just take a little while to straighten out. But I would remain more on the cautious side until we see the numbers actually improve a little bit. Remember the concept too that we've talked about is that, when this kind of thing is going on, when the breadth is weak and we're not making newer, even short-term newer, higher highs, the wind is against you, rather than, I like to refer to it as when you're adding longs and so forth, you're going with the wind, right? Market breadth is strong and so on and so forth. That's not what we have right now. So it remains to be seen if this can straighten itself out. And let's go through a couple charts. We'll go through a couple trades. So, again, I think, we have to start somewhere in terms of bouncing. but we don't have any confirmation yet. So, this is still, keep in mind, if you had a great day, awesome. And I think, many traders in the Tribeca Trade Group had a great day today too. But at the same point, what I was saying in yesterday's video is to make sure that you're selling, into some strength. So we'll review that a little bit here. And if we go into our trades channel, and I'll go into the blotter. Why is this all backed up here? Let's see. We'll talk about Amazon, right? So yesterday morning, what I talked about was two names that I was looking to see a turnaround in. One was Netflix, because it had a catalyst. They did well at the Emmys. And number two, I was saying, well, Amazon needs to basically turn a little bit. That would be good for the market. Amazon has been really weak up until late yesterday. So this has made it all the way. I mean, this was a monster day for Amazon, up 5.7%. It did make it almost all the way through value. I had some trades on in Amazon, which I took off. I had some call spreads that I put on Friday. Just thinking, my thought on Friday was that Amazon was so beaten up that I thought it was due for a bounce at some point. So this is back in value. We do have now, there's a catalyst out for Amazon. We know their Prime Day, which is, I think they said October, I don't know why they gave 2 days, but I think they said October 13th to 14th is the Amazon Prime Day. So you might get a little bit of a rally into that event, and that would be great. I mean, I still view, also Bernstein upgraded the stock. So that can really provide a nice little bounce to it. So, again, as crazy as these broker upgrades are, and sometimes these brokers make bad calls. When they upgrade a stock, especially a stock that hasn't been doing much, it could really provide some wind at its back. So this was a nice day for me in Amazon. And like I said, I was very happy to kind of get, I would have to hold this call spread, this $10 wide call spread for the rest of the week to get the last $1.50, even though it's way in the money. So I'm happy, making $8.50 on something I paid $3.60 for. So that was a nice looking trade. I also added, being that this got so in the money and I thought Amazon could really run today, I put on another small weekly call spread as well. Took that off right at the end of the day too. For $5, paid $3.40. So these call spreads are like a nice, easy way to participate in Amazon because the options do cost a lot to get involved, to trade weekly calls and something like Amazon, and to go out even further. It's a tough trade. The downside of trading the calls is that if you have a lot of time left, even a couple days, the market maker is not going to give you the whole value. It doesn't matter how far in the money you are. So that's the downside to them. What else did I trade? I actually took advantage of today's strength to kind of get out of some positions. A couple things from last week. This Micron wasn't working. Let's see where this closed. It probably closed fairly decently. Let's wait for Thinkorswim to bring it up. Yeah, it's kind of neutral. That's why I took it off today. I was looking for this thing to kind of rally outside of that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with taking off some trades if they're not doing what you thought was going to happen. I'm not going to sit and keep the trade on my balance sheet. I would rather look for something that has the momentum to it rather than just keep a trade on the books. So I did that in a couple trades today. And Fastly was a nice trade. I'm really patient with this name. It's, kind of waiting for the signal. Very interesting, this name. About a week ago, I even drew this neckline in here, and I said, hey, it's possible this thing could break down. It actually bounced before it got to that neckline and is now pushing to the upside. So I did unwind this trade at the end of the day because I heard some headline, and I was up a little bit of money in it. But I heard some headline that this TikTok deal is still not set in stone, which I think it will go back and forth again a few more times. So I'm like, hey, I'll take some money off the table. It was a nice little trade. A couple other trades. Pins was one of our weekend watch list names. Really, really strong performance and, out and about. And that's a name that we went over in the weekend video. Snap was another name that saw a whole bunch of calls. This looks like a pretty good chart, right? If you have a little bit of patience with it, this thing is just kind of carving out a nice, bowl here, and maybe a little bit of a cup and handle into here, but it's been, and it's held up pretty well in terms of the sell-off that happened the last couple weeks too. All right, so that's one that saw call activity. I did not trade that one. Crowd was one. Crowd and PayPal I had on from yesterday. This worked really well. Nice follow through action. Was up another 3% today. PayPal was up also nicely today. I took PayPal off today because it kind of ran into these moving averages. And again, I want to make sure that I'm selling some things after a nice 2-day run. Again, I don't have to take off all positions, but just as I said in the beginning of this video, I think market breadth we still have issues in this market. So I'm fine selling a bit, into strength today. Here was the Amazon we already talked about. Facebook, I did put on kind of a flyer trade for tomorrow. Why did I do that? Because Facebook is just trying to get into value, and I think if it gets into value, it could maybe pop a little bit. I don't think it's performed that well since, and hasn't run that much since the lows, but so I think it was worthy of a shot for Facebook for putting on a flyer at the end of the day. All right, a couple other names that were really strong. Datadog, which a bunch of traders played in the room today, up 6%. And this one I think could still keep going. You're just above this downward trend line. So really strong in that one. Docky was another one that caught a little bit of strength, got back above, but I heard that there was an insider sale in this name. Also, I think we hit some targets here. This VPOC was taken out. Right? These version point of controls are great places to take targets. There was also one on the 1 hour that was taken out. So we'll monitor this name. So small move higher. Let's talk a little bit about the home builders. I mentioned they were the best group. This KBH had good earnings, but is only up a little bit now. Is only up about 50 cents. One of the names that I was watching today is Lennar. Right, Lennar had earnings, had a weird reaction after earnings, but look at the nice consolidation here. So that's a name on my watch list for tomorrow, and it looks like it's ready to break out again. Right after doing about a month of about a month. Yeah, almost a month of consolidation, I would call it. Mini consolidation, I would say. So I like that name. What else? Nike had stellar numbers after the close today. They are up to 127. Lulu, which got me last week, I got caught in Lulu. Lulu would just not turn around last week. Had an amazing day today, up 6%. You just kind of felt like this was going to happen sooner or later. And nice move and getting a little bit of pin action from those Nike results. So nice turn here, and yeah, I would like to see one more green day for Lulu, and they did announce that they're restarting their buyback plan. All right, so a lot of other trades to go over, a lot of other charts that we could go over here. I just wanted to touch upon this kind of crazy move in the small caps today. Really tough chart, this small caps, right? They came in and they retested bottom of value. They failed. They took out a VPOC to the downside yesterday. And, they came back and the valuaries did a pretty good job. There was some weakness up until 11 o'clock, and then they turned and went higher. So not bad. This one area, too, has me concerned. Look at KRE. No bounce in the banks at all at the end of the day. And like I said, market breadth, one of the reasons this looks bad to me, in terms of the regional banks breaking down like this. One of the things I put on Twitter was I don't own any of this. I talked about a possible short trade. I didn't put the short trade on last week, but I kind of wish I did because this thing is down from $38 down to 34. And if you want to look at XLF too. So again, I have no interest in really owning this group. XLF I think could go down lower, but that's not good, I think, for the overall market. I've said this before, I don't think the banks need to go higher for the indices to go higher. They're not a big they're not a big weight in the S&P 500 anymore, but we also at the same point don't want to see groups just completely fall apart. People get fearful when that happens, and people kind of scale down risk when they get a little bit fearful. So we'll keep an eye on this and how this develops. But again, one day, not a trend, and it hasn't changed. This is still the weakest seasonal week of the year. So this was a really nice gift, and a gift to kind of sell, some things into strength, and kind of just, observe and see how the rest of the week goes. Again, we want to be, pressing our bets when the wind is at our back, not when the wind is in our faces. So we'll see how this market breadth situation materializes the rest of the week. Have a great night, everybody, and see you tomorrow.